Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
So taking a more sort of mental functional approach to a lot of the kind of mechanics internally in the mind. Last episode, we talked about desire. Today, I want to talk a little bit about fear. Fear is a thing that we talk a lot about, again, in the negative context, but fear is outrageously useful. So let's talk today a little bit about what fear is, what it does, why it's important, and when to let it sort of have the wheel and when to not. So if you sit with fear for a few minutes, you'll begin to realize that fear does some really interesting things when you sit with it. When you're afraid, your awareness, your cognitive process goes on high alert. You obsess, you think. Fear executes things like anxiety as a function. It executes things like alertness as a function, that sort of vigilance as a function. Fear wakes up a lot of other sort of biological routines that essentially put the entire operation on high alert. Sitting in fear and using that sort of high speed process, right? So being fearful is a very rapid sort of process. You're thinking about it. You're going over and over your head. You're catastrophizing potentially. Your anxiety level is increasing. All of that happens. It's a very, very fast way of thinking. And in a lot of situations, biologically, we would use this to escape, right? We would use it to fight or flight. Fear is the mechanism that either gets you swinging or gets you running. So when you look at it as a function, as a defensive function, it is essentially putting the organism on high alert and alerting you to, the look at the surroundings, to evaluate for threats. We don't often activate this on purpose. We activate this as a response to the sort of current environment. When you start to look at this in a meaningful way, you can essentially start to activate fear as a lens by which you look at a given situation. What here could come and get me later? What am I doing here that could bite me in the ass long term? Same thing's true when you need to turn it off. You look at the long-term consequences. If I indulge this situation, or if I endure this situation, what's the worst case scenario that's going to happen? You can use this kind of sort of apparatus, this cognitive trick, to essentially work with fear. So you can either neutralize it and eliminate it where it's not helpful, or activate it and use its strengths where it's appropriate to help you solve problems. But again, the important thing is not to just demonize it. It's to understand when you have to allow it to do what it does, and when you can disregard it. Now, there's lots of other places where, it's easier said than done, to be quite candid, right? So being in a state of high fear is uncomfortable, and which is why it activates the fight or flight. You either, kick butt or get out. When you can sit with it and allow fear to be there and continue doing what you're doing, we've sort of socially given that the label of being courageous, right? It's not about ignoring it. It's about understanding that you are afraid and you will persevere. But understanding essentially how it works and what those mechanics are should give you a better insight on how to use the function of fear to help you achieve your objectives, whatever they might be. And the same way, when fear does arise, understand that the vigilance you're feeling, that the hyper alertness that you're feeling, you've given that a label, and that is all essentially in service to the fear function inside your brain. Now you can operate on it if you see fit and move forward. Or you can essentially say, listen, I recognize that I'm afraid right now. I'm going to continue to work through that. and continue to move my initiatives forward or my directives forward or whatever it might be, and not be derailed, but not ignore that awareness as well. And again, that's embracing the courage of being able to respond to the environment or in a situation without essentially letting it control you. So that's what you need to know, at least the high level about fear.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at masonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.